So I had some white colleagues ask me what I thought about Trump actually segregating whites and blacks. And I actually told them straight up, like, honestly, I would love that. Now, they looked at me like I was crazy, and they almost spit up their almond milk. And I think they thought that maybe I was saying that out of hatred, but it really isn't about hatred. Here's the thing. I'm not talking about their version of segregation. See, I'm talking about our version of righteous separation, spiritual sovereignty, and black sufficiency. See, the truth of it is that integration was never about freedom. It was finesse. It was a system's way of saying, let's stop them from succeeding independently so we can profit from their brilliance directly. It was about control. And so I want us to be very clear about this. You know, we were never separate but equal. So that's a lie. We were separate and excelling. We had our own schools, we had our own banks, we had our own businesses, and baby, we were thriving. Black Wall Street, they burned it. Rosewood, they bombed it. Wilmington, they overthrew it. Why? Because we were doing too well without them, and they couldn't handle that. And so that's the truth. They didn't really want segregation gone. They wanted control. This is why we know that integration was just repackage of chains. When we were separate, we actually were building and excelling. And when they saw that we could excel without them, then it was like, oh no, we got to take control and make sure that their labor is profiting us. So right around that time, they rolled out this whole standardized testing, ACT and SAT. Y'all remember that? They created this IQ ranking to measure their norms, not our brilliance. And then we were said we were behind when we really weren't. We were just building our own lane, not asking for theirs. See, I don't know about you all, but I'm kind of tired of the lies. It's very exhausting, you know, just the lies that continue to be promoted. And I want to talk about the melanin, because this whole thing that we're not smart enough, that we're not bright enough, is simply just a lie. And so, you know, all this testing that they're doing, and I have kids in school, and they're made to feel that they cannot achieve. And I have to remind them about their actual superpower, melanin. See, not just your skin tone, but in your brain, specifically neuromelanin, that rich dark pigment found in areas like the substantia nigra, which are critical for learning and memory and decision making and emotional regulation. See, if you don't know, then you won't know how to respond. But when you learn about the studies that have actually linked the neuromelanin to higher concentrations and how it's related to enhanced memory and processing and higher intelligence and faster reaction times, then you know why they have hidden this information for so long. Because when you have higher melanin, you have stronger brain resilience against degenerative diseases. So translation to that is melanin doesn't just make you glow, it makes you grow. So we know that it's not coincidental that people with more melanin have historically been creators, inventors, innovators across every discipline, while also being the most suppressed, because they know that the more melanin you have in your body and in your brain actually produces higher intelligence. So the Bible also says this too in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verses 7. It says he placed treasures in earthen vessels. What treasures? It was in us all along, right? So we have more melanin, and we know that people with less melanin, because it's a recessive gene and it's a mutation, lack the same level of intelligence, of many different benefits that come along with that. What's so interesting about it is that we're supposed to be looking at this as if it's something negative. But why is it negative when every other cultural group does this? Group economics. See, the truth of the matter is they have stolen from us so many different things, and yet we still survive. And so I don't want to offend, but I have to be blunt here. When we invented it, they patented it. When we built it, they banked on it. So everything we created, they made sure they benefited off of it. Just like Louis Latimer, he actually developed the light bulb, but Edison got all the glory for it. And this has been going on through history. We know that Granville T. Woods laid the foundation for trains. Corporations got the contracts. Dr. Patricia Bath revolutionized eye surgery. The system licensed the tech. Black music became white record labels, billion-dollar industries off of our talent. Every time we create, they capitalize. We are the genius, but they control the royalties. It's quite interesting, isn't it? So when we talk about the facts and segregation, I want to be very clear. It's not racist. We have to understand the dynamics of this. See, the black dollar actually is the fastest running dollar in America. So let's do the math here. And I think it's quite funny. Black people have spending power over 1.6 trillion. But guess what? That dollar stays in our community just for 6 hours. While the white community, their dollar stays in their community 17 days. And guess what? Asian communities, it stays in their community 20 days. Jewish communities over 3 weeks. Why? Because we're systemically disarmed from owning what we build. And this is no coinky dink. The scripture said this would happen. So now our dollar does the labor, but the system collects the check. And this is why I support segregation on our own terms. See, that 400 years of slavery is over. And when I say that I want us to be segregated, I don't mean oppressed. I mean organize. Let's build black banks again. Let's educate our babies on the truth, not whitewashed lies. And let's support black farmers, black techs, black healing, black brilliance. And no, it doesn't mean I hate white people. No, it means I finally love us enough to stop begging for scraps from a table we built but never welcomed to. See, the Bible told us about this, yet we hop, skip, and jump over the fact that Deuteronomy 28, 43, and 44 already said it. It says, the stranger shall rise above you high, and you shall come down low. They shall lend to you, but you shall not lend to them. And this is exactly what has been happening for 400 years plus years. We built houses, businesses, schools, and they took them and taxed them to death. But beloved, there's hope, because Deuteronomy 30:3 also says, and Yah will turn your captivity and have compassion upon you, and will return and gather you from all nations. So yes, I welcome segregation, because restoration is already in motion. And I want y'all to understand this. We are not asking for more, we're building. See, we were never given anything from you all. I'm not asking to sit at somebody's table anymore. See, I'm trying to go along with scripture and build my people, gather my people, not because they are more melanated, but because we need to know that we serve the Most High and that He's going to take care of us, because separation was never our curse. It was our covenant. And now it's our strategy. It says to come out from among them, be ye separated. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17. So this isn't about racism. It's about us reclaiming what is already ours.
America was not ever prepared to run without slavery. That's why during Reconstruction and Jim Crow, chain gangs became popularized, prison labor became popularized, up until even now, because prison labor is pretty much legalized slavery. And that's why prices have been raised so high and the minimum wage is still what it is. It's because now you're having to work, more than one job. Once upon a time, you could work one job and provide for your entire household. Now you can't do that. Both parties, if you have two people in the home, both adults have to work, and sometimes even two jobs. Sometimes, and what they even tell you, well, if you have your degree, and there are people who have a degree that are not able to find employment right now, because America never created a plan to run without forced labor. They never anticipated black people voting, women voting, natives voting. They never anticipated us being in the spaces where we can earn a higher living. All these mass layoffs is essentially getting rid of the middle and upper middle class. So then people are going to be forced to take, jobs in warehouses, or do a lot of laborious work, which is absolutely no shade to, but a lot of those jobs don't pay what you need to pay when you live a certain life, and even when you just kind of want the basics. So, very interesting. Food for thought.
A massive movement is going on. Melanin is being destroyed. But the system of white supremacy says, I will be able, by offering grants, I will be able by offering jobs, to tell you that you are the cause of the death of black people. I'll be doing it, but I'll make you focus on yourself.
We can believe that maybe the restoration has started, and that's why we're seeing like things are happening in a mysterious way, and now all that has been seen as the oppression and has been making some people's life to be unpredictable is now today the same what these people are demanding. Today, the black Americans need segregation. They demand their segregation because this is the life they have used to many years ago. This is the life even their forefathers lived. They lived under segregation. They lived attending their own schools, their own churches, and any other public spaces where they were not allowed to engage themselves with the whites. They were never allowed to associate even the communities where there are some villages and some areas where you could have not find the white people living, the blacks living, because that was the only place that was separated for the whites. And they grew, even the kids and the children from the white communities, they grew up believing in that life. That's how they believe in themselves. And this has helped them a lot because it teaches them a lot. They grew up knowing how to depend on themselves, on how to fight and protect for themselves without depending on some people whom they believe that maybe they can help them. But at the end of the day, they're the one who caused more troubles and problems to their life. The black community often generate huge economic value, yet much of that wealth leave their neighborhoods. Building separate, self-sufficient black economies through black-owned banks, industries, and trade networks could reduce dependency and promote long-term wealth creation. This is less about exclusion and more about reclaiming control over economic destiny. I played several videos of the black ladies, and how, if you listen, how they are creating this, or how they are addressing this issue, is something that is very deep. If you sit down and listen at it, listen for it, because if you sit down and listen to it, because it is very dangerous for you having an enemy, the enemy that you have lived fighting for many years. And then you find that the enemy that you are fighting, the rules and regulation that you impose towards him or her, he's now good and comfortable with it. You must be worried, because the same rules and laws that you impose to him, believing that he's going to suffer living under that rules, and the same rules that this is the same rules that he or she is living, being okay and comfortable with it. That's what has been happening here. So all the laws and the rules that was imposed the black people since the time of slavery was only to make them suffer, not to develop, not to prosper, not to do anything that seems to be good. But what happened to the side of the black people? They lived well, because they lived until the time they came to adapt the life of those rules that they were imposed to. And this has helped them a lot because it made them to be strong. It made them to be independent. It made them to develop by themselves and know how to protect themselves without the concern of other people. This segregation has helped them because after they adapted the way of dealing for themselves, going to their own schools, their own hospitals, their own public spaces. Through this, they build up their own schools, their own churches, their own markets. And no one was able to come and make problems to the place that they build by themselves. And this has bring a confusion towards the other race because that's not how they expected. Cultural preservations, integration often came with the cost of cultural loss. Many traditional African values, spiritual systems, and communal practices were replaced by Western norms. A separate or autonomous system would allow for the revival of African central education, spirituality, and leadership models. It helps protect identity, language, and pride in African heritage. But when we come to the political power and self-governance, Black communities in the diaspora often live under a political system that historically oppressed or excluded them. And our self-governance allows people to move policies that prioritize their own interest and address issues like policing, education, and justice in ways that reflect their own values. Example, including movement, living under system that constantly devalue Black lives can cause trauma and internalize self-hate. Building separate, safe Black spaces allows for reconstruction of collective confidence and pride. So when we see the Blacks coming out to speak about these issues, I believe that it's not that they support racism, but it's that they're speaking the truth because this is the truth that has been hidden, and people are not allowed to come and speak about it until the time now. Some of the laws were moved or were removed. It enabled some people to come and express their ways and their feelings, how they feel about this issue that is affecting the other race in a daily issues. And this has helped a lot because for the Black Americans, started to move, some of them started to move out of America and go to experience some life in some other places. It has helped a lot because they are the reason as to why we have many Black Americans who are today moving out of this country because they have listened to the testimony of their own Black